So, Shanali, what was your weekend like?
I did two things this weekend. I watched Lapata Ladies because it's too hot to be doing anything outdoors.
Absolutely, it's crazy.
I don't feel like stepping out, and I'm wearing only maternity clothes these days.
Those are the best. They make sense. They allow air circulation to happen. That is so essential.
Yeah, but you get up and you put it on, and my daughter was like, "Why are you wearing a nightie? Like this one. This looks like a nightie." So I've thrown on these beads to make it look less so. But Lapata Ladies was interesting, and Met Gala, and they sort of have an intersection point. There's a Venn diagram, and we can talk about that. But have you watched Lapata Ladies?
I did, interestingly. I watched it this weekend too. And very interesting because we're talking about Lapata Ladies and the Met Gala and the Venn diagram. So the intersection, I don't know. It's women and clothes.
Okay, yes.
That's what I figure out it is, because in the Met Gala, everyone's out to show as many body parts as they can. Look at Doja Cat, who's struggling to cover bits and pieces of herself with that wet slinky thing that she
what was she doing before that with a towel on her head? Shopping in some jewelry store, and she was wearing a body wrap, which is also a towel, holding it up like this. Yeah. And it said Vetements, the brand. So it's in dress. It said Vetements dress.
So this is something like that brand, I guess. Now we've gone into a completely new direction. But the Balenciaga towel skirt, was it Balenciaga?
What she was wearing?
No, not what she was wearing, but that has been retailed. And I saw...
Which Balenciaga skirt?
It's a towel. It's actually like if you wrap a towel around your waist.
Correct. Yeah,
so maybe towels in fashion. Maybe I can throw out all my clothes and just go around wearing towels.
But ensure the label is worthy of...
We can stitch on a label.
Yeah, correct.
We can stitch on labels. We have Lokhandwala market for that.
But it takes a certain kind of eccentricity, or I would say confidence, to just show up like that. Because there's another picture of her in a cling film, walking on the road. There's a cling film on top and there's a cling film at the bottom. And that's her little shorts and boob tube set. And she's walking around with a platinum blonde shaved head on the streets of New York.
Confidence, I don't know, confidence, attention seeking. There's
idiocy.
So much of this happening. I mean, look at Insta, you have thirst traps all the time. People putting up pictures of themselves in little bitty things, which is lovely because I love the confidence. But at the end of the day, kya hota hai?
So, Kiran, the Met Gala, I think also has a lot to do with celebrating design, creativity in design. Okay, it is a lot to do with that. And ultimately, the association is with the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
That's true.
So I get that, and I do enjoy it. Although this year everything was really underwhelming. There was very little creativity. Everybody had stuck on florals and it became the thing, the Garden of Time. No, what is it called?
The Garden of Time.
Yeah. The Garden of Time. Are you sure that's the theme?
Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, the Garden of Time.
Yeah, the Garden of Time theme. And okay, so there's craftsmanship involved and there's a certain degree of creativity involved, whatever my or your opinion on how it turned out to be this time. But the trouble is that I was at my dentist, and my dentist has a screen on the ceiling. So while you're lying back with that something up your mouth to hold it in place, open like that, and you're looking at videos, and we no longer watch music videos the way we used to when we had MTV and Channel V. So I was watching these videos of songs, and in all these videos, there's a DJ Khalid. The DJ Khalid, and then he's surrounded on the poolside by babes who are gyrating and showing off their bodies, and those typical moments which I'll show you once the camera
That's because
is
he
off.
Can't show off his body, man.
Right, but I'm saying that the man is the artist, and the fillers in the video are women who are just sort of sexualizing themselves, basically playing to the male gaze. And then there was another video after that, I forget, another popular song where this man is in LA and he's walking on some, promenade, and the women surrounding him are again, jutting their boobs and their butts out. So I think that two things I noticed now that I'm so much older. One is that it is pushing a body stereotype. Okay, that you have to be in this hourglass figure sort of a thing. And the other is think about girls who are plump. Think about who I was when I was young. And looking at these videos, you really do feel inadequate and you feel something is wrong with my body because it's so much emphasis is on how you look physically and how your body's ideal shape should be, that you forget to really nurture your inner self. And I know it sounds really preachy and horrible, but ideal bodies being celebrated. So at least in Met Gala, you still had Queen Latifah and all that,
Yeah.
you know,
With Cardi B.
or Cardi B. So I think that. And then Lapata Ladies,
It's the other extreme completely.
but it is again, so one is catering to the male gaze and us not even realizing that we are doing it, and women are making a living out of it. And then Lapata Ladies is again male dominance over male guardianship.
And
Male
invisibilizing.
guardianship over women. Yeah.
And invisibilizing the woman. If you notice, the ghungat, which is such an important metaphor in the entire, I mean, it starts with that ghungat causing all the trouble. Even the poor chap who takes the other lady thinking she's his wife. The only thing he has to show for her face is a photograph at the wedding with her ghungat
Ghungat.
right up to her
I know.
neck. She's invisibilized even in her own wedding photographs.
Yeah.
So what is the identity of a woman?
Even when a shepherd is herding his sheep, and he might switch with some other sheep, so it's sort of making us seem like cattle, like we are basically bovine creatures.
But even the shepherd knows who his sheep are. These people didn't even know who their wives were.
I know.
He just grabbed her hand and he pulled it. And the other one sort of just decided very sanely to stay back at the railway station and not go with that.
And
Very
the
evil
police
man.
thing that she said. So, that Phool, when she's lost, she doesn't go to the police because she's been warned by her husband of 2 days. In some dialect, she says that, it's better to be lost than to go to the police. And my mom used to say that when I was growing up.
Mhm.
Because when one traveled, my mom used to always say, if you ever get lost, do not ever go to the cop station.
Really?
Go to some auntie or some elderly woman, go to them and tell them that you're lost, but never, ever, ever go to the cop station
My
because they
God.
will exploit you.
My goodness.
Yeah, I mean, with due respect to the police in this country, I'm saying that there is an image that poor girl was just, confirming.
Yeah. And then the cop played by Ravi Kishan did nothing to reinforce or
But I
erase
loved
that,
him.
erase that image.
He was the most endearing thing in that movie. I wanted to just watch Ravi Kishan scenes.
And I love the fact that he flipped over at the end and became the good cop.
Yeah.
But contrary, a wonderful contrast I found in the movie. A lot of the messaging was on your nose. And a lot of it was like, okay, now this is the women's emancipation message we want to send out. So let's have Jaya say these lines, whatever. I love the subtle contrast between the helplessness of Jaya and Fool and the sports quota cop
Oh, yes.
who broke that supari and crushed that supari in her hand
That's right.
and terrified those guys because she would do the questioning if
That's
he-
And when that guy says the flunk, his lackey says, वो तो खाने के लिए गए हैं
केला और अंडा मिले।
स्पोर्ट्स कोटा में केला और अंडा मिलता है. And Ravi Kishan's expression was priceless. I have to say some of the dialogues were fantastic, and if you allow me, I wanted to read one out because I wanted to read it verbatim. फ्रॉड का मतलब जानती हो, किसी को ठगने को, उल्लू बनाने को अंग्रेजी में फ्रॉड कहते हैं. ये देश में लड़की लोगों के साथ हजारों सालों से एक फ्रॉड चल रहा है. उसका नाम है भले घर की बहू बेटी. The good girl fraud. It is so true.
It is true. All of us have been,
We've
gone through
bought
it.
into it.
Yeah.
That girls from respectable families,
Don't do this. Don't do that.
talk only when spoken to,
Sit in a particular way.
or should be seen, not be heard. Or girls from proper families don't look so excited on their own wedding day. Now there's a whole new trend of the bride,
Dancing.
dancing.
And
Yesterday I
enjoying
watched
a
a
wedding.
video in which a girl was dancing towards the groom. Viral Bhayani shared it to do the Jaymala on him. And she's dancing to a movie song. She's lip syncing and pirouetting around him. It looked like a scene from a movie. And the guy is actually acting demure.
Oh, lovely.
Right? So I'm just saying that women taking ownership of their bodies, of their desires, and finding self-expression, we are seeing in urban India right now. Okay, but much of the reality of India, which is
The rural India.
largely agrarian, is more or less what we watched in this movie, without the embellishments, of course.
So this good girl phenomenon does exist. It exists to police women, to make women stay within certain boundaries and not to be too visible or too noticeable. Don't laugh too loudly because then you're noticed, you're singled out. Don't go around with your head uncovered because then you're noticed, you're singled out. A lot of it, I think, comes from the fear of women being
too powerful.
not too powerful,
Yeah.
being picked up and being noticed by an unsavory male gaze. Don't
You
be
think
noticed.
it's just that?
It's that, and it's keeping women within boundaries.
I think that when an attractive woman knows she's good looking and she's married to an abusive man, or if a woman starts learning how to groom herself and dress up, I'm talking about completely rural India, there's a power in knowing that you can appear better than you are. And that may actually give a license to be licentious.
Yeah. Well, I've heard lots of stories which tell me that they don't need any power to be licentious. No, the only power I think that women in rural India really need to have is the power to have their own money, which I think with a lot of these self-help groups and all that comes about. But the fact that the ultimate power is earning your money and having a say in the family finances, that doesn't come about.
Yeah. No, I guess that's too many boxes to tick then. So I suppose it didn't happen for that reason. But again, that woman who makes the samosas, when she's lost at the stall, when she says that, women are so powerful that the day men have kept us suppressed for way too long, that is because, so she says, देख फूल औरत अनाज उगा भी सकती है, पका भी सकती है, बच्चा भी पैदा कर सकती है और बड़ा भी कर सकती है. देखा जाए तो औरतों को मर्दों की कोई खास जरूरत ही नहीं है. पर ये बात अगर औरतों को पता चल जाए तो मर्द बेचारे का बाजा नहीं बज जाएगा. You see, this is actually true. Even though it's on the nose, I understand. But you need some character somewhere in some movie one day to say this.
Yeah.
That you are enough. What she's saying is you are enough. And you are empowered.
You can do it all. You don't need the husband.
Yeah.
The most interesting contrast in the movie was the messaging the two women gave. One wanted to go ahead and live her life and get educated and go back to her home or whatever, go back to this chap she was flirting with, Chandan. Who was that? Gunjan? The friend of the groom who had lost his wife. The other was quite content to be the one step behind the husband when she finally met him. And she said, maybe I'll start doing something to batao his heart. Not to do something on her own, but to batao his heart. So this spectrum of ambition was very interesting the way it played out in the movie.
But even in our own lives, even in cities and progressive families, not every girl is that ambitious to have a career. I think, and that's where there are some people, some women especially, who judge women who choose not to work on careers. Now, okay, I understand that some of it is conditioning, that you'll only be fulfilled if you become a mother and you have 5 children or 2 children. But for some women, it may just be a natural desire. Okay, so that freedom to also allow a woman to choose is part of the feminist dialogue, as opposed to saying that you have no ambition to have a career and therefore, you are somewhere doing disservice to feminists.
It's also feminist dialogue. It's also privilege. If you're not going to have a career, a person from a certain strata of society can't take that luxury of saying that I'm not going to work because she needs the income. It's women from a certain strata who are going to say that I'm just going to be a homemaker and look after and raise my kids. That's privilege also.
That is true.
That plays into the entire equation. Yeah. Another interesting thing was this daughter-in-law, the first daughter-in-law, the older daughter-in-law, who barely speaks. Because she says, I have no one to speak to.
I know.
And my heart really broke for her. Her husband is abroad. She's stuck in this house full of oldies in one Devar. And then she has no one to speak to, and except her son, perhaps. And all she has is a drawing she's done of her husband.
That she clings to.
She doesn't even have a photograph of her husband to look at.
I guess this is really the reality of...
But you think in 2001 she doesn't even have a photograph of her husband? Do you think that's
it's possible? That woman said that there was only one picture and he, I don't know, they had to give it away for some ration card or something. But even the mother-in-law is saying that, I love this certain dish, but I never make it for myself. Because when the this other girl says, what's her name? Not Pool, Jaya.
Chaya.
When Jaya says, if you like it so much, why don't you make it for yourself? She says, because in all these years of being married, the idea of making something just for myself, has never struck me. In fact, what I like has even been obliterated from my mind. And this is very subversive messaging here, because we stop living for ourselves. And we, again, when I speak for a vast majority of women, I know somebody can get up and say, you girls are living for yourself. Yeah, we are. And you should too.
Everyone should.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because, when you get married and you don't realize when you get into a family that when the cooking happens, everyone's tastes and preferences have to be taken into account.
Correct.
And very often it is the man of the house whose preferences are top of the pecking order.
Correct.
And I realize this now in retrospect after so many years, that when my mother-in-law realized that I love sabudana khichdi, she would make it a couple of times a week for me.
Oh, that's very nice.
And now I realize that was such an indulgence because nobody else in the house liked it or touched it.
How lovely. I hope she's listening to your podcast. You'll get some brownie points.
She might not. But that's so true. And when I watched that scene, I really thought about that because there's certain things one likes, but it doesn't get made. If you want it, you just order it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Because it won't get made because who else is going to eat it in the house?
So my husband's Dadi. By the way, there was a character in this movie called Sharvan.
Okay.
The man who's in the second wives, the second bahu's husband who's in the city, whose sketch she lives, she's drawn. His name is Sharvan. Sharvan Singh.
Okay.
So I'm calling my husband Sharvan.
Sharvan from tomorrow.
No, so his grandmother, my grandmother-in-law, she passed away in 2019 at the age of 96. And I think right until 2008, she was very agile and active. She was so sweet. She used to only enter the kitchen once in a way. And she had been, I think it sounds like when she was younger, she was a bit of a tyrant as a mother-in-law, as women in that era used to be. But she used to especially go into the kitchen just to cook for me.
How sweet.
And send it up to my house, yeah.
So wonderful.
That was really sweet. And my mom-in-law used to say that, you're so lucky she indulges you so. Because I guess they had all seen a slightly different avatar of hers.
I think that happens. The grandmother-in-laws are more indulgent of the granddaughter-in-laws. And it skips a generation, the indulgence.
But women of that generation used to smoke bidis and cigarettes.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about conventional. These are not women who were sitting at Willingdon Club with cigar holders or cigarette holders. I'm talking about women in saris, wearing bangles and cooking in the kitchen and then taking a break and doing the bidi or cigarette smoking thing. And in some ways, I think controlling the kitchen was controlling the house, was controlling even the man. So women have found their own way also to survive in this really limiting, suffocating ecosystem.
Yeah, you control the kitchen, which reminded me my dadi used to smoke the hookah very elegantly, recline on that couch and...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't such a taboo.
Not at all. And they control the kitchen and they also control the men by fasting for them. See, if I'm not going to fast for you, I'm going to pop it.
Yeah.
So because I'm fasting for you and I'm doing so much alive and well, be grateful to me.
Yeah.
So that was
in the wily ways, some women, not all, have learned to control men. And those who were subjugated by the women before them, then when they became mother-in-laws, and they exacted revenge on society through the daughter-in-laws.
So the cycle never got broken.
Yeah.
It went on.
It went on.
Very interesting.
But see, even these shows, what is The Bachelor? The Bachelorette? No, The Bachelor.
Bachelor.
There's a show called The Bachelor. And that show is about women, all women who are living in this sort of a mansion are competing for that one man's attention. I'm saying that, so the conversation, again, I'm sort of digressing in a way from this film. But in this film, women are subjugated in another way. In these videos that I talked about, where women are displaying their bodies and working out day and night to have flat abs and have a certain body form, and we've all been victims of that, we are subjugated in another way.
Absolutely. Societal expectations never cease.
And societal expectations as dictated by men. I'm saying that emancipation is not just lifting the gungat and earning some money. Right? Emancipation is that, like, the courage to say, I have this body, I dress like this, I don't care what someone else thinks. And also, I think media, people have to start going beyond tokenism of using, more fuller bodies in their videos and in their films. Why do all bodies have to be a certain type?
Because they're appealing to the male gaze. We come right back to that argument.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that, so in a way, all the education, all the progression, all the movements of fourth wave of feminism, okay, a lot has yet to be achieved even in urban educated societies.
We are in the age of BBL,
What's that?
Brazilian bum lift.
That's right.
We live in an age where people are having ribs removed.
What happens in Brazilian bum lift?
They take your fat from some place and put it in the other places.
Oh.
And something like that. I assume so. So people are having ribs removed to make their waists narrower.
Yeah. Do you know how dangerous that is?
Yeah. People are doing all
Those
sorts of
floating ribs have a purpose.
things.
And they support your structure. I don't know how their old age is going to look like. See, one is wanting to look pretty. The mirror is a new invention, right? So we were not supposed to look at ourselves as much as we do today now with phones and selfie cameras and so on and so forth, right? So I think that wanting to beautify yourself, because human beings, even animals, are drawn to beauty. And that is why the peacock looks the way he does, right? We've discussed this before. So I think one is the basic aesthetic, that human beings are drawn to beautiful things, beautiful flowers. Nobody keeps ugly looking flowers in their house, right?
Beauty is goodness.
Beauty is good. I think it's not even that. There's a part of a brain that sort of releases endorphins or something when you look at something beautiful. So one is just general aesthetic of that, a beautiful sunset, a beautiful day. And so wanting to look beautiful for yourself is not forbidden. Okay, I'm saying that is all right. But how much of your own sense of what is beautiful has been dictated to you through centuries?
It's a very interesting photograph I saw on the font of all information, which is Instagram Reels, which was of a woman who had a pudgy little face, plump as hell, dressed in some short kind of a dress with visible upper lip growth, huge eyebrows. And this was a princess of some place in the Middle East, I forget where.
Where this is a sign of beauty.
Where so many men committed suicide because she refused to marry her and she was considered a great beauty of her times.
Can we show a picture? It'll be great.
I don't know where I read it. And I read it twice. I think it was some Instagram reel that I saw it on. And I did a double take. Really? She was a great beauty of her time? I mean, that time should have been our time. We wouldn't be struggling to whittle ourselves down to.
But speaking of beauty standards, the current Miss USA, who's 17, stepped down, saying the values of this organization don't align with my ideology. So then somebody wrote, then how did she not realize it
earlier?
But she's 17. Come on, cut her some slack. So I'm just trying to say that we need to do away with these beauty pageants. A lot needs to be done, and it can be done if everything is not so driven by advertising. Fashion is a different thing in the sense that, like we said, it's about creativity also.
Oh, interesting. Well, we're talking of beauty and body standards. Now it suddenly strikes me that both these women in Lapata Ladies were extremely slim to the point of being gaunt.
But in the village, women are slim because they work in the fields.
These were not working in the fields.
They're influencers in real life, you know that?
Yeah.
One is a girl from Shimla and the other girl's an influencer.
Yeah, so that's another unrealistic expectation.
But listen, Kiran, in all the movies that I've ever watched, where there's a village, Gracie Singh in Lagan, she was also very slim. The other thing I worry about, off topic, is if future career of these people. Gracie Singh acted in Lagan and then she got so typecast as the village belle that she never really managed to,
Why she did Munna Bhai and that was very successful.
Gracie Singh?
Munna Bhai MBBS, that was a huge hit.
Was she in Munna Bhai? I had no recollection.
Yes.
Okay, so 2 movies. Was she a gaon wali in that?
No, she was a doctor in that.
Ooh. Okay, but I'm just saying that, I can't think of these women now in some glamazon roles.
So if you look at Hema Malini and Vaijayanti Mala, who also played
different times.
Different times. So that's what I'm saying.
That was a different era.
So the women in the villages are not necessarily skinny. They're quite well built because they're doing hard labor.
That's true.
they're doing hard labor, and if they're skinny, they're going to pass out
I
in
think
the
Hema
fields.
Malini had the most gorgeous figure.
Yeah.
She was
And-
so voluptuous and so full with such a youthful face. Even now, she looks amazing.
And Vaijayanti Mala in Naya Daur?
I never liked her. I couldn't
No, but
stand
she was not slim and trim. She was like,
She was not even anything.
she was healthy.
No, not like that. I just never. I remember Doordarshan days. I never wanted to watch her, and I didn't want to ever watch Mala Sinha. These were two actresses when they were on screen. I was like, no,
But
this is not my Sunday movie.
Just to be say something in favor of Vaijayanti Mala, please watch Amrapali. She's gorgeous in that.
Really?
She's gorgeous in that. I mean, if I wasn't heterosexual, I might have swung the
Didn't
other
she
way.
have some big mole on her face or something?
No,
Oh, okay. Never
you're
mind.
talking about somebody else.
No, I'm talking about Vaijayanti Mala. I know who you're talking about. I mean, I've sort of forgotten her.
Yeah, but then another age. Those
I
actresses.
used to love Mumtaz.
Oh yeah,
And I loved her body too. What a shape she had.
Hmm.
She wasn't some hourglass perfect with the flat abs. She was cute, pixie-like, I agree.
not usually bosomed up.
But listen, Mumtaz these days on Instagram is something else. Oh my God.
Please tell me more.
It's cute, but she's trying to keep up with the times. I guess she's dancing for the camera and flirting with the camera.
Oh Lord,
And then, yeah.
the Instagram.
And
has-
she's sitting in the car with the camera on and speaking to the camera. आप मेरे चाहने वाले हैं, मैं आपको ये बोलना चाहती हूँ, and whatever. Yeah.
Oh Lord,
She's,
Oh.
it's almost sad, like a,
what has Instagram done to us? It's made us caricatures of ourselves.
No, so she is like a caricature of
That's-
herself.
yeah.
And you should, after this episode,
As I said when you told me to watch
Watch a reel.
Hiran Mandi, I said life is too short.
No, but
I will
she's
repeat
very-
this.
Can I tell you, even in whatever she's doing, being performative, ye mera London ka ghar hai, and then dancing in front of the camera, whatever, it's very cute. It's all, you know what? The thing is, ultimately, there's a sad insistence in every human being who's ever been in the limelight to say relevant. And if she thinks this is a way of saying relevant, who's to stop her? But it is hugely entertaining. So, Kiran, even if you look at Kim Kardashian now, not generally in life, we know how it is, even for the Met Gala, you know that it has become such a big cultural landmark, that event. She wore the tightest corset ever under that, was it a Balmain dress?
I have no clue, man.
Okay. She wore the tightest corset ever under her dress. And the next day, she revealed that corset too. Yeah. Okay. There's a picture of hers on Instagram. I'm saying, what are you telling young girls? And this is the same woman who was once selling some diet lollipops, which were absolutely dangerous for young girls.
So,
So I'm saying that, but then the media will splash her pictures, she'll get endorsements, Anna Wintour will put her on the cover of magazines. I'm saying that we have all played a part in what we've done to our own bodies.
we're also telling young girls that, listen, we have not really come out from the phase of Gone with the Wind, where Scarlett O'Hara had to have Mammy lace
Yeah.
her into a corset to get a waist 16.
Yeah.
Women have gone through all the waves of feminism just to lace themselves back into corsets that cinch their waists into unnatural sizes. And heaven knows, I have great hope from this generation. Maybe they will break out of the corsets.
Well, Jamila Jamil,
Hmm.
the actress, she has been speaking about her struggle with weight and her eating disorder. And she put up a post about Kim Kardashian as well. I was sitting there and feeling outraged as I was going over her photographs. She's spoken about it. She's saying that I can't even just blame Kim, because she said it's the media that amplifies all of these things and cues up,
To promote this, and we are the
Yeah.
willing and able consumers of all this. That's
Yeah.
what happens. So
Yeah.
we are enabling this, and we need to stop as consumers.
Yeah. For the sake of our children and our grandchildren. The planet is going to seed, so I don't know about the
I don't see
grandchildren,
Kirit in a I don't see Krish in a corset coming
but
soon.
You said Kirit in a corset. Please keep that.
I don't see Krish in a corset soon, but I get what you're saying.
No, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying that corset or no corset, you are trying to promote this thing that this sort of a cinched waist is how an ideal waist should be, and then a bum like that. And kids don't know that she's put injectables in her bum.
Kids don't know
And
the-
even if they know, then they'll want to put injectables in their bum.
And it's not just girls. It's also the boys who are getting this unnatural feedback that, you have to be ripped and you have to be jacked and you have to have these many party packs.
Yeah, like the dialogue starting from fitness then goes into this extremely superficial space.
And there's no end to it. There's absolutely no end to
Yeah,
it.
see, when I'd gained a lot of weight 2 years ago, I was like a foghorn at night. I was snoring so much that my husband recorded it and played it back for me. And I thought I'd sleep apnea, but I guess that
You could plead insanity,
I'm not exaggerating. I'm speaking the truth. And then I lost that weight, and at least my foghorn snores have sort of calmed down a bit. So, I mean, fitness is important.
Fitness is important. Body positivity
But
is
punishing your body to look a certain way is the main thing.
Yeah.